Hi, creative friends. This is Soraya, and thank you so much for being here. So, it's a perfect day for a hot cup of tea and a meeting at the virtual fireside with Dr. Clarissa Pinkola, Estes. So, I just want to tell you guys that I am so thankful and grateful to have you guys here. Whoever is watching and listening, thank you for creating space for me to show up as I am. I hope you will show up as you are. And as we both go forward together, all of us, you, me, community, I hope that we can all learn from each other. I know when I first started my YouTube channel, I was terrified of talking to the camera. And if you go back and look at my videos, I don't have a lot of them where I'm, speaking directly to the camera. And it's actually quite terrifying and very unnatural because I'm just sitting here talking to the camera. But I have to say that since I started this series, I've loosened up so much because I'm just so freaking excited about everything that I am learning. And I just want to share it to whoever will listen. So, a few days ago, I was painting and listening to Dr. Estes because she's got a ton of audiobooks. And I had a major epiphany. I I just realized that tarot cards and oracle cards are actually archetypes. And let me just say that my pathway to tarot was like really kind of like around the way like this because up until a few years ago, I think about 6 years ago, I had no experience with tarot, no interest in it, no pull to it. Like I have never been to a psychic. I've never asked someone to read my tarot for me. But like what happened when I was 29 years old, I did have an experience with tarot, a very brief one. And I lived in Vancouver, Canada for about a year. And I remember it was a beautiful summer day, and I was in Kitsilano Beach by myself. I was sitting on my towel with a book and reading, and there was a young girl off to the side, and she must have been in her late teens. She was really sweet and timid, and she kept on looking over at me. And I paid attention to it. I noticed it, but then I just, went on my business, which was reading. And then about an hour later, she kind of made her way towards me very quietly and sweetly, and she asked me if she could read my tarot for me. So I had no understanding of any of this, so I just said yes. And she pulled out her deck, and she probably spent about 20 to 30 minutes reading out my tarot cards, and it was so accurate. It blew me away because I was wondering, like, how does this young girl who I had never seen up to then and I've never seen since, how could she so accurately tell me about my life and myself and everything? And so for a few days after that, I lived in this like magical reality where it was almost like there was a portal, like a door that I could walk through. And it just gave me this sense of like wonderment. But then, the weeks went on and I completely forgot about it and I went on my way. But then about 6 or 7 years ago, tarot came again into my life in a very unexpected way. I, I was trying to think about like how exactly did it happen? And I think what happened was I was listening to YouTube videos about something completely unrelated. And I had my ear pods on and I was working and, doing stuff. And a tarot reading just popped onto my feed and it started playing, and once again, I was listening to all this stuff that was so accurate. But now I'm 51, 52 years old, and I was absolutely drawn to tarot. And it kind of became like I was borderline obsessed with it. I took a couple of classes, I learned more about tarot cards, and, you know, I I started learning about just all the different arcanas and the different cards. So this is a tarot deck that most people use when they first start learning about tarot. And every tarot deck has 78 cards. There are 22 major arcana and 56 minor arcana. And everything in tarot is symbolic. So it's the language of archetypes. It's the language of imagery, symbolism, colors, dreams, and every single thing on the card has a meaning. So if a tarot reader pulls out a major arcana card, that in and of itself has a meaning. It has lots of meanings. And when somebody is reading your tarot, so if they pull out, say, 20 or 30 cards, I mean, however many cards they pull out, they are actually reading energies. And so the way the cards appear in a specific sequence, whether they appear upright or reversed, everything has meaning in tarot, and they tell a story. So that's basically what tarot readers are doing, is they are reading energy, archetypes. So I would like to show you the Queen of Cups. This in tarot is an energy, like all of the archetypes, like all of the archetype cards, all of the tarot cards. They are energies, so they don't have a gender. So a male can absolutely embody the Queen of Cups energy. So it's an energy that somebody can embody. And a 5-year-old can embody a Queen of Cups energy. It has no age, no gender. And so, what does a Queen of Cups mean? And I hope that I can tilt it in a way so that there's no glare on it. So, the Queen of Cups energy is caring and supportive to self and others. It's nurturing, mature, sensitive, embodies love and kindness, offers comfort and understanding. There's self love and the ability to set healthy boundaries with self and others, nurtures the emotional well being of themselves and others. They trust and act upon their intuition and instincts. Um, they are good listeners. They listen without judgment. They they're very in tune with their emotional selves. They value emotions. And you can also get the Queen of Cups reversed. So when it's upright, it's in its light aspect of the archetype. When it's reversed, it's in the shadow aspect of the archetype. And what does the Queen of Cups reversed? What does this energy embody? This energy embodies um, a lot of insecurity, a lot of trust issues, very manipulative behavior, cold, distant. They're not accountable. So if something that they perceive as negative happens in their life, they are quick to look outside of themselves. For somebody to blame, for some circumstance, some person to blame. They don't look within themselves and accept accountability for what has happened. They have an inability to emotionally connect to self and others, very self centered. Um, they have a lack of self awareness, a lot of unresolved emotional baggage, a lack of empathy, especially. Now, this in its very toxic, um, in a very toxic way, can embody things like narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder. So, we're talking about energies. I'm looking at things from a very energetic point of view. So I would like to show you another one. So this one over here is the Tower. Now in tarot, when a lot of times when the Tower card shows up, there's a instantly it's like, oh my God, I don't want to get the Tower. The Tower is a negative thing. But like all archetypes, it is, it has a light aspect and a shadow aspect. So what does the Tower represent? So the Tower represents a sudden unforeseen change. As you can see, the whole tower is just coming crashing down. And in its shadow aspect, a tower can signify crisis, danger. Um, it can signify like obstruction, but in its light aspects, it can signify liberation, a rebirthing of ourselves, of our stories, of our beliefs. So I'll give you an example. So just say that I'm, 23 years old. I have been dating somebody. I've been in a relationship for a year. And just say, we're planning a life together. We're going to get married. I think we're on the same page, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like a year into the relationship or 2 years into the relationship, I discovered that, we are not on the same page. This person is not who they presented themselves to be. They've been very heavily masking. There's been a lot of deceit, lies, etc. Now, if I'm honest with myself, if I'm not in denial, if I hold space for me to look at this in a very honest way, then I'm going to have a tower moment. My life is going to change. It's going to come crashing down. But I can use this as an opportunity to get into the light aspect of the tower. So, we probably are going to stay in the shadow aspect for a while where we're going to cry and get angry and bitter and, oh my God, like, why did this happen to me, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's okay to stay in that space. But if we stay in that space for, 10 years, that's kind of a waste of 10 years, really. So it's important that we try to get to the light aspect of that. And in this particular example, what what I would do is I would say, okay, let me let me turn this light within myself. Let me see where I did not speak up for myself, where I did not set boundaries, where I did not ask for what I wanted. Let me look at the ways that I ignored my intuition. Let me go into my belief system now. And, my belief system says that, well, I should be married by the age of, 25, or else I'm an old maid. And actually, in Indian culture, this is very true. That age is probably much younger than that. But, and then I would look at my belief system and say, hey, does this even serve me? This doesn't even make any sense. And so I would do those things. So that's that's how I could get from the shadow aspect of the tower to the light aspect of the tower. Now, let's look at this image right here. This is the Three of Swords. Now, you don't have to know anything about tarot or archetypes or anything, but when you look at this image, like, this is a very visceral reaction. Three swords to the heart. Oh my God, pain, suffering, betrayal. So in this example, I'm going to say it's not that somebody has, for instance, stole my money. That is not Three of Swords. Three of Swords is, this is a person I trusted. This is a person I entrusted with my love, with my future, with my vulnerability. This is a person that I had no doubts about. I thought that I could depend on them, rely on them. And now they stole my money. Now they have violated my trust. So this is Three of Swords. You feel it in the heart. And you don't really, you don't need to do a lot of explaining and stories about this whole situation. And that's what archetypes are. They are symbols, symbolism, the language of symbolism. And like I was telling you, about 6 or 7 years ago, when I started becoming very interested in tarot, I have a lot of tarot decks, because what happened is, every situation that came up, like, oh, it's Mother's Day, I think I need some tarot card decks. Oh, it's my birthday. What would I like? I think I like some tarot decks. So I have a lot of tarot card decks. So I want to show you a couple of other decks here. So this one is the Lightseeker's Tarot, and I will put all of this in the description below in case anybody's interested. But the artwork on some of these tarot decks are simply stunning. So over here, I want to show you the Queen of Cups. Now, as you can see, it's very different from the Rider-Waite tarot deck, but it still embodies the same energy as the Queen of Cups in that deck, because it's all dealing with symbolism. Now, this over here is the Three of Swords. As you can tell, there's an immediate reaction to this. There's an understanding of what this represents. It's just painful. It's violation. It's betrayal. It's just like, ouch, I feel that in my, I just feel it. Now, this over here is the Devil. What is the devil in tarot? What does a devil represent? The devil represents addictions. So it could be an addiction to an actual substance like alcohol or drugs, but it could also be codependency, trauma bonds, dependency. It could be addictions to being the good girl, seeking validation and love outside of ourselves. And look at how enticing the devil is. Now, in this deck, the devil is represented as a male, but like I said, all archetypes are neutral energies. So a female can embody the devil energy as much as the male. It's not gendered. But just look at how enticing that is. His eyes are beckoning us. He has his hand held out, and he's promising us. What is he promising us? The devil is promising us. I'll use this example. So just say we're addicted to being the good girl. Well, the devil is promising us, you know what? If you be the good girl, the people pleaser, you are promised to be loved, to be validated, to never be alone. And it's very seductive. It says, oh, let me just keep on trying. But what is this tied into? It's tied into our belief system. Somewhere along the line, we learned that, people pleasing is the way we get to love. So I hope you can see how the archetype, while it does attach to our belief systems, it also supersedes it, because our belief systems are like in these chakras over here, and then the archetypes are like in the collective unconscious, as Carl Jung talked about. So I'm going to put this deck off to the side here, and I'm going to show you another deck, because I do have like a million decks. But it's really important that I make this point here. So this is the Crow Tarot, and it's an absolutely stunning deck. I love the artwork and the symbolism in this deck. So again, this is a Three of Swords in the Crow deck. And as you can see, there's not much explanation that is needed because this is very self-explanatory. And in these cards, like everything from the number of birds to the positioning of the birds, like every little part of this card has tons and tons and tons of symbolism, meaning. Now, this over here is the Tower. As you can see, everything's coming crashing down. And this over here is the Queen of Cups. Very different from the past two cards that I showed you, but still embodying the same energy. And this over here is the Ten of Cups, and what cups represents in tarot are emotions. So the Ten of Cups represents wish fulfillment, but not in the way that we might think, like we get everything we desire. The Ten of Cups, as I understand it, is we've gone through all the other cups, the Two of Cups, the Three of Cups, the Four of Cups, etc. And by the time we get to the Ten of Cups, we've experienced a lot of loss. We've experienced, betrayal. We've experienced all these different experiences, and now we get to the Ten of Cups, and we are making a choice to be happy. This is the choosing happiness. But if you look at this, like look at the energies, it's just bright, it's joyful, it's playful. There's sunflowers, there's so much yellow. I mean, it's just a beautiful light card. And now we get to the oracle cards, which are a little bit different than tarot cards, but they are still the same in that they are energies. And when I had my major epiphany that tarot cards are their archetypes, and oracle cards are as well, I also had another epiphany. So doing this series has been so amazing for me because I am learning in real time. Like I only just had this aha moment like a week ago, so I am just like beside myself. But what I realized is that Kali, the Hindu goddess, and this is not about religion at all, because I'm sure every religion has a similar type of archetype. But in Hinduism, I realized that Kali, in all of her representations, is the wild woman archetype, and it blows my freaking mind. So religion in and of itself can be an archetype, and it can be in its shadow aspects, which would be, controlling and dominating and patriarchal, etc., etc. And it can also be in its light aspects, which is, you realize that the temple or the church is not external to you; it is inside of you. You are the temple. You are the church. The beliefs that a religion, the shadow aspects of dogma, you can now say, you know what, I am going to examine my beliefs. I'm going to make my own set of beliefs that I want to live my life by. So you can move from the shadow to the light. But for the purposes of what I'm trying to explain right here, we're going to take religion out of it. We're just going to look at the archetype of Kali. So Dr. Estes, she lays this out very concisely in the prelude to her book. So this is in Singing Over the Bones. So before we even get into the chapters, she says, what is the work of wild woman? The work of wild woman is very simple, okay, in the sense that her work is creativity, invention, and reinvention. Now, that might take a million different manifestations. Like, somebody could want to create, a family. They could want to create a garden. They could want to create books. They could be a writer. So that's not what we're going to focus on. We're just going to focus on creativity, invention, and reinvention. And anybody can embody the wild woman archetype. Again, it is not gendered. So a male absolutely can, and they do, embody wild woman archetype. So I would like to show you a card right here. Now, Kali gets a bad rap in a lot of ways because a lot of times she's only seen in her very fierce aspect, but she's got so many different sides of her. She's a wild woman. So of course she's going to have like, she's multifaceted. But now you don't have to know anything about archetypes, and you don't have to know anything about Hinduism or any of that stuff. But I'm going to show you this card and you're going to instantly kind of understand. Like, look at that card, okay? Now, this is a bad ass, and you do not want to mess with this energy. But you also are going to understand that there are times in life, there are some people and situations where you need to embody this energy. You have to, like this, you understand this. So, as I said, everything is symbolic. So, we are going to read what the booklet said. Now, this is an amazing um, the Kali Oracle right here. This is an amazing deck. And it's, even though it's written by a Westerner, she really understands and encapsulates the aspects of Kali within the Hindu religion, but then she also supersedes it because it's an archetype, it's symbolic, and she makes it very universal and accessible. So anybody can understand this. So I'm going to read from the book here. And this is what she says. Her timing is fierce with compassionate wisdom. To love her is to honor her greater knowing. She demands a surrender of our futile attempts to control that which is beyond our sphere of understanding until that pain transforms into the sweet pleasure of release. Even the right thing cannot attain fruition at the wrong time. Kali's outstretched tongue and open mouth signify her fierce form as the devouring divine warrior goddess. So basically, what I take this to mean is this aspect of Kali is about us, rebirthing ourselves. We have to let old parts of ourselves and our younger versions, we have to let them die off. Like, I could not bring my 20-year-old the 20-year-old version of myself into my 30s and 40s and 50s, because that person was so broken and so lost without even knowing why. And the way I would move from the shadow aspect of that into the light aspect is to look at those younger versions of myself without judgment, without blame, without shame, and simply accept that was where I had to be. And then I extend it. Another level of me healing my shadow aspect would be to extend that non-judgment into all the people that have hurt me, and to look at that with non-judgment as well. And then another circle would be to say, look at all the people that I have hurt, and to, extend love and compassion and non-judgment for that circle as well. Now I'm going to show you another card over here, and this is an aspect of Kali as well. And let's see what she has to teach us. And this again is another aspect of wild woman archetype. So, with luminous grace, she plays her ways into our hearts, softening hardness and despair, awakening the remembrance of light, of love, of joy. No matter what you have experienced, your heart shall be cleansed and released from ugliness, sorrow, and pain. Negative karmic cycles will be cleared away. Her presence asks us to cleanse and heal our minds so we do not become consumed or overwhelmed by the suffering or ugliness happening in our world. Now, there are many pages to each card, and it goes into quite a lot of detail. It's not like a small book. It's a very extensive book. Now, I just wanted to talk about this one briefly, this card over here, because a lot of people who watch my channel, they might only be interested in my art process videos and, talks about creativity, etc., etc., and that's completely fine. And, sometimes people might wonder, well, what is the link between archetypes and healing and creativity, etc., etc.? And I came to this understanding when I first started doing my shadow work and really making a very concrete effort and commitment really to my healing journey. And that was about 12 years ago. I mean, roughly, give or take. But I came to the understanding that my healing journey and my creativity, my art journey, were one and the same. So I want to just read you this. And please just keep in mind what Dr. Estes says about the wild woman archetype. Her work is creativity, invention, and reinvention. So I'm going to read this one right here. Our wild mother goddess overcomes duality, resting in the sweet spot of integration, healing, and creativity. She facilitates the overcoming of tension and conflict, birthing sacred solutions and evolution into greater bliss. She overcomes all karma. She realigns pathways when we have veered off course, reverses the momentum of negativity, use of free will, and detaches draining energy cords, restoring us to full vitality. So, this goes on and on and on. And I don't want to get too much into this, but basically, what I realized is that when I was unhealed, creativity takes energy. It requires energy. I mean, this is when you talk about the chakra system, when you talk about Tantra, and when you talk about Shakti, energy, power, creativity, creation, all of that requires energy. And when I am not healed, when I am unhealed, when I am obsessing about my past, when I am looking externally to myself for validation, for love, for when something goes what I perceive as wrong and I want somebody to blame, all I'm doing is I am draining my life force. I'm draining my energy. I'm obsessing about the past. So all my life force is going to the past. It's going outside of me. It's like being scattered. I don't have any energy to create. And when I do create, it's not going to be in alignment with who I am. So by me healing myself, by me pulling all my energy together, being aligned. So, my thoughts, my belief systems align with my throat chakra. So, what I think is the same as what I speak, is the same as, what I do, my actions, my I listen to my intuition, like I'm all in alignment. When all of that is, and it's a practice. It's not like an all or nothing proposition. This is a lifelong journey, and it's a constant, like, oh, I'm off balance, I've got to get back on balance, I've got to realign myself. Where did I get off balance? Let me check in with myself. Okay, is it my intuition? Is it my belief system? Oh yeah, I see it now. My belief system got a bit off balance and I got to rein it back in. So it's this constant realignment. It's hard work, which is why a lot of people don't want to do this work. I mean, it is difficult work, but to me, it is it is so worth it, because if you don't do this work, you know, I will remain unconscious, and I've already spent too much of my life being unconscious. But getting back to creativity, if I don't get all my energy into the present moment, if my energy is all over the place, and the way I can get my energy into present moment is to heal. And I hope by sharing all this stuff on archetypes and creativity and healing, et cetera, you can see how we can move from the shadow aspects to the light aspects. So these are tools that we can use, and we can, tweak them, adjust them, see how they can work for us, because what might work for me may not work for you. So these are just some of the tools that I have used. And like I said, I am just so grateful that I am doing this series, because like what I have learned about tarot cards and oracle cards being archetypes has really opened up a whole new level of understanding for me, with Dr. Estes's work, with Jung's work, with my healing journey. And it's just been the best gift ever. So I'm so grateful. And if you've watched to the end of this video, thank you so much for holding space for me. I hope that this has been helpful. I welcome all of your comments, your questions, your feedback. And I hope that this can be a very collaborative experience, in that, we all kind of like contribute to it. And when you ask me questions, I can think about it, journal about it, and incorporate that into my videos. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that this has been helpful and interesting and explained archetypes on a deeper level. So I will see you in my next video. Bye.